Imagine turning your IT service company into a $1 million business. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, Ayush Jain, the genius behind Mind Browser, has did it. In this session, Ayush will discuss about the strategies that help him grow, the challenges that he faced, and how he overcame it. He will also discuss about the experiment that drove his business, as well as how to streamline the process and how to build a solid sales team. This session is for everyone, from new entrepreneurs to an experienced professional. Watch till the end and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe.
I want to share with you a few theories that come from, I would say, more psychology and business, but do apply, like you can't ignore them. So, the first one, so let's get started. So, the first one is understanding the orbits. So, basically, like we were touching upon as well, like business grows in orbits. So, there's the orbit of 0 to 1, then there's what we could call like the orbit of 1 to 10, then there's the orbit to 10 to 50, and so on. And at every such orbit, as you would see, like these high ends happen, and then you have to make a change. So the first orbit, if you are in the 0 to 1, then probably the priorities are different as compared to the second orbit, and then the third, because initially the priority will be more survival, more maybe many of the businesses could be dependent on one single customer, for example, or may not have a sales team, or may not have the delivery sorted as much. And sometimes how much hard you try, unless you've gone through this whole journey, you just can't like jump from first orbit to third orbit and so on, because every such orbit would require its own set of practices, foundational pieces, and so on. So business grows in orbits is one thing that you need to understand. And what works in one orbit may not work on the other orbit, because once you reach that high point, then either you basically start working or getting into the second orbit, or you start declining. These are the times when you would feel, okay, everybody in the office seems so busy, we are doing our best, but revenue is not growing, which means probably you need to move towards things that make you to the next orbit, and so on. So you reach a saturation, and so on. So that's one thing that always remember. So whichever size you are, you have to think, okay, how do you basically jump towards the next orbit, and so on. Any ideas like like how would you jump to an orbit? Any suggestions, any thoughts? Like how would one jump from one orbit to another?
Just a point.
Yeah.
I have shown a very similar thing as we have done. Basically, I have shown a scale from 2011 to 2035. And for the first we planned for 0.5 million,
Right.
and then I take it 2024 as 1 million, because the first growth becomes slow. And then you go to 2 million, and then 5 million. That's what I planned for.
Right.
And at every stage, you have an objective. For example, at first 0.5 million just to survive and be in the field, right? The second is to reach 1 million. Once you reach 1 million, after the survival, you plan for the growth, right? Then you reach 2 million. Once you reach 2 million, you plan for market share capture in the field in which you're working with, right? And then you reach 5 million, then you try to become an innovation leader, right? You have gone beyond the market share, right? So that's what, with this objective, you have to plan to grow 360 degrees in terms of your products,
Right.
your people, your other features like administrative services, etc.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. So agree with that. So primarily, like I said, summarizing the idea that every orbit would require its own process, its own people. Like people who would be very good in 0 to 1 may find themselves saturated with their capacity when you try to move. So you need to maybe bring in new people, or maybe another new mindset into the company. And like Partha mentioned, like the objectives could be different as well. So survival to becoming a leader in a certain space, maybe a micro niche, to becoming a bigger leader in a larger space, and so on. So those objectives may need to change gradually. The other thing that I want to share is the theory of constraints. So a question here. Let's say you.
Yeah. Sorry, before we move on, going back to the previous slide. So I likened it with the orbits of an electron around the nucleus.
Yeah.
So unless you get some kind of an external
Energy,
stimulus, the electron doesn't move to the next orbit. So I'm sure you must be having it in the upcoming slides. But my question is, have you kind of narrowed it down as to what it takes? Have you identified those orbits? I mean, they may not be.
So on a high level, I would say those orbits would be 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 25 in terms of services companies. Again, depending on different businesses, it could be different definitions. Like for SaaS company, for example, it could be maybe your annual revenue sizes or some other metrics. For service company, to keep it simple, I would say like the 0 to 1 game to 1 to 10 game to 10 to 25 game could be very different.
Yeah, so but are you going to talk about that, or
we are going to talk about the 0 to 1 for now? But many lessons may overlap because of one, of course, they are foundational, and second, it also has to do with recency. Recency in the sense that since I'm currently doing the second orbit, many of my lessons may kind of intersect as well.
Yeah, and then keeping in mind that the stimuli will be different for different people, different organizations, and even the geography plays. Even within India, I know that geography plays
right.
Because someone in Bangalore pitching for a job and someone in Pune pitching for a job, there is a vast difference.
Right.
So, have you identified those stimuli? Are we going to talk about those stimuli, or
I think we touched upon, right? Maybe as we go forward, if there's anything missing, because again, it's spread out into many areas, and then
of course.
Let's see, maybe it touches on.
Yeah, with this shorts culture and then scrolling fast, right? So, I and some of the Gen Zs might be looking for those specific stimuli that you might have encountered. They may or may not work for us, but if you have, I would love for you to highlight them.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah. So the theory of constraints. Quick question. Looking at this picture, if you have a Ferrari, how fast it can go? So you have the Ferrari. Anywhere, like if you are in traffic, those are the constraints basically. So another thing to learn before we get to the meat of it, that how you do it. These are some of the things basically that understanding constraints. So constraints could be like geography or the way businesses, or it could be both internal constraints, it could be external constraints. Like it could be in any form and shape and size. So it could be monetary constraint, it could be talent constraint, it could be industry constraint, it could be the whole climate currently, like funding drying up, so it is just difficult, for example. So something as a founder, you have to keep thinking what are those constraints that are holding back your business. That is the idea. The third thing, again, as a founder, as a leader, you have to always be thinking is your comfort zone and where magic happens. So there's always that leap. So many times while we would know the theory, you have to keep shaking yourself up that you are not living your day in the most comfortable way in terms of work, which could be like, okay, maybe I'm more comfortable in sending emails, I'm not so much comfortable in meeting people, so I just do emails, for example. So the magic happens outside the comfort zone. And fourthly, if it broke, don't fix it kind of thinking. Again, sitting on what is already working, because business is definitely changing, environment is already changing, in fact, faster than ever. So that would mean, like you have to always keep on applying. So, good thing is you are already here. So that would mean that you are already awoke. But people would be say happy. Okay, I'm doing a 1 million. I'm now happy because now I can earn say X sum every month as a salary. I think if you are not doing those changes quickly, maybe that would appreciate. So that's important. In fact, I was hearing the VC Vinod Khosla, and he mentioned that my attitude towards failure leads me to more success. So it's like the more I embrace failure, the more successful I am. So more about trying to do things, make and break, and see what works, what does not. So that becomes it. So these are 4 things that I wanted to share, as a start. And now coming to our meat of it. So sales, everybody raised up, and on my list also, sales is there. So can anybody describe or think what this picture has to do with sales? What do you think?
The water is already there, probably prospects or customers. We just probably put our bucket inside. We have to get it.
ये कर सकते हैं, but I wish it was so easy. I think that would be everybody's dream. Okay, what else?
I think the lever is important.
Yeah, right. Right. That's
Because you
yeah.
can't do it with your
If you have to fetch it.
Right,
You have
to
to repeat it.
create the whole system in order to take that bucket of water out.
Right. Anything else?
The right tools.
Why can't we replace that bucket with a pump?
Right.
Once you get that, when the market is big, you have to target one segment at a time or part of it.
Right. No, that's also. So I mean, all these answers are right. I was not so imaginative while putting this picture. My imagination was only that most of the times from my learning, which could be the first learning to share from my own experiences, is that 0 to 1 million, most founders end up with a sales engine that means that every day dig well to find water. So you don't have the system and every day digging well to find water. I have done that myself a lot, and founders I have spoken with, that what I call is the well to find water. That every day you have to take the whole effort because there's just no system or replicable process or replicable way. You've not found the mood why people would come to you. So that's the first thing that as a sales process you have to figure out, like what would be that one thing that avoids making you start from zero on every deal. Like why would people come to you? Why would people find you? In fact, rather than everything starting from zero. So sales process is not set. Sales is still done by the founder, so you still don't have a delegated way or at least someone to help you or do it so that you can do the bigger stuff, for example, or no stickiness found in your services. So like the mood, like why would people choose you rather than someone else, and so on. So these are some things right away. That is one of the things broken for most companies, and before they are able to cross that 1 million mark. So you would be sitting on some revenue, but many times that could be on a naked eye, could be very separate from each other. That this sales came from this way, this sales came from this way, but there's no pattern or there's no connectivity. Now, one of the things that as a founder and these all a leader, and that's the responsibility because you are the only one who can look through the patterns. Nobody else will, because everybody else in your team is very focused on the their day-to-day job, for example. So finding that constant, breaking that constant is your responsibility as a founder. So figuring out what are those patterns? Why are these people coming to me? Why did they choose me and not someone else? Can I do that again with another set of people? So that's something that you need to find answers to. And one thing I mentioned is that since your size would be small, don't think about that you could define a category. I mean, sometimes we have that notion that okay, now I will go in and tell everybody that there's a new process for software development which my company would do, but people won't buy it because everybody's like, if you had such an invention, why are you here? In fact, so the idea would be that you have to piggyback on smaller micro trends. You can't go in and say something like what maybe Infosys could be doing, and that's why those orbits again. So you have to play smartly in your orbit in the sense that what can differentiate or make you a winner in a certain aspect of it. So sharing with you, this is something that we did way back in 2012 to 2015, and we continue to do, but that time we became a market leader in this aspect. What we called as design sprints. I believe everybody may be aware, or if not, then design sprint is a Google methodology to help basically create a methodology to define a project, like define a product idea. So that time, especially working with a lot of early stage founders, we thought that and design sprint was new. Like if you were to do it today, it's crowded comparatively. But that time we put in a real effort to become really a leader in doing design sprint the right way. One, second, getting our people competent enough. Third, bringing a lot of consultant to understand what we did not know. And fourthly, whatever we did, try to publish those stories as much as possible out, so that more and more people come to know that okay, these guys are expert in design sprint. And I think if I were to be asked, that was kind of our main mood during the years to close things. So something like that, because eventually people are coming for solutions. So something where you can pose that you can provide a solution to their problems would be very useful. Any questions, anything at this point that you want me to talk more about?
How did your outreach process?
So outreach has over the period again changed, but start with, of course, email, LinkedIn.
These are cold ones or warm ones?
Cold, warm, again going out. So again, sales in itself can be a complete class. So I think all sorts of ways. But I would think that again, very much experimenting with all methods possible. So even doing physical visits, to sending out emails, to LinkedIn, to finding references.
What worked for you? When did you hire your first sales guy?
I think we hired pretty early. So like right from within, I'd say, first year itself, we started hiring and building a sales.
So with all due respect of what you achieved, it's been a while since you were in that lower orbit, right?
Right.
So my question that keeps coming to my mind is like, there were some processes that you followed back like 10, 20 years, 10
No,
years
actually
ago.
parts.
10, 5 parts. So how many of those processes are still relevant, right?
Many of them. I would say again, these are foundational pieces. So it's not like that. In 5 years, just like like foundational things like sun still rises from the east or the west. So similarly, like people would still need design sprint. I'm saying they are still doing. All I'm saying is that now it is more crowded. So if I were to start today, I would think of another route rather than saying I do design sprint, I'm expert at it. Probably there are more people doing it. So all I'm saying is that if you were to take a lesson, it may not be designed in that way. Maybe you can again improvise it, but you have to think of some route.
Okay, so the takeaway is to try to build a moat.
Yeah, find a differentiator basically. Because if there's no differentiator, in fact the market has become harder and harder. So compared to 5 years, compared to 10 years, I think like closing and finding differentiator is even harder because everything is now available further and further.
So what kind of competition are you facing in your orbit?
So we are now again second orbit, if you want to touch upon, is going towards a niche. So we are now a health focused company. So we are a data health company now. So we basically work towards that direction, like furthering, focusing on just doing health.
So you're narrowing down your
Yeah.
focus as you're
Yeah.
moving up.
And there is a debate like, do you want to go focused as early as now? You can, but that is not something I did. So I cannot comment on it whether you should be doing right now that full focus or whether you should go generic. My thought is that since there's survival thing also earlier, so how much you want to like focus, but there is theory or there is knowledge around that you could start with focus right from day one. But I have not done that, so I cannot say that.
There are some I have some generic questions. Should I take them now or should I wait for you?
If you feel it would be useful for everybody, then
Yeah, they are definitely. But should we take them?
okay, let's go with the flow because many of them may get answered. So finding a mood is something that we could do. Some of the other things that we did, to fix our sales is one, CRM to rescue. Again, looking back, I think as an early stage, a lot of work gets done on Excel, which means that a lot of leads, you forget because there's Excel which, was made for one campaign and then everyone moved to another Excel, so they forgot about the first Excel. At least that happened with me. So sharing that, like bringing CRM as soon as possible rather than waiting to grow big and then using it, would be the way. So CRM was really useful looking back. Saying no to wrong customers is very useful and important. So what also happens is that, again, if it is survival mode, then, you are thinking that everybody, what they are saying you're not understanding, but you feel that, okay, probably they are more knowledgeable or they are good or whatever it is, let's get started, let's get the contract signed. Those customers and those projects are the most painful and they take a lot of bandwidth, which is not right. So saying no to wrong customers, standing your feet in terms of like the way you would do it or the way you can promise the right delivery, because at the end of the day they want the right delivery. So it is very important that as a founder you are very clear, your team is very clear. While there's always pressure to close, it should not end up closing the wrong way or not setting the right expectations. One of the things like that I can mention is when we're doing these design sprints and everything. So customers who would come with just an idea that okay, I want to build the next LinkedIn for 100K, I will give you and so on. We made sure that we are not taking those projects. So like always choose customers wisely. That would bring a lot of peace to you as well as your whole teams, because some of these customers see your people are very motivated to do good work. But like many times customers would end up creating a lot of mental tension for them, and then they would leave, which is loss for you as well. So very important that as a company culture, you are abiding by the values, by by supporting your people and bringing in the right customers, so that everybody is happy. Always be experimenting. I'll keep sharing this because that's a very important takeaway. But always be experimenting as a founder. Or as a leader, it's your role, in fact. That's your responsibility. That experiments have to be done by you. And finding patterns, breaking patterns.
Ayush, can you give an example of experimentation?
Sure. So in everything, I would say. I mean, I would say each and everything that I do today would be more about breaking the pattern. So it could come from sales, like, okay, what can we do, what we are not doing? It could come in marketing, what can we do that we are not doing? It could come in company culture, what can we do? And I've put in some examples, we'll come on that as well. But that's the whole idea. What I would like you to take away is that the whole mindset of experimentation and putting your time on that aspect, because what I can share with you is that's the thing nobody else can do in your team. So that's your responsibility to do experiments and to make or break things. Because everybody is kind of one in their own day-to-day job. Second, they are afraid to break things. They are, thinking that what if it fails, what we'll do, and so on. It happens. It's a human thing. So your responsibility is very much about experimenting.
लेकिन कभी-कभी ऐसा होता है कि my team feels that यार हर रोज कुछ नया लेके आते हैं।
वो balance so उनको comfort वाली slide दिखानी है. मतलब see that's what, like it's a holistic approach. You have to manage.
People like stability. They are used to this process. So suddenly नया कुछ लेके आते हैं।
हाँ, बिल्कुल. नहीं, so definitely again इसके भी मतलब I'd say a holistic approach around कि at what point you start disturbing the flow. What I'm saying that probably you want to start only by yourself doing something, or like if one of the examples I can say is that if I were to do a new experimental email, rather than calling in all the sales team and saying कि अरे ये करके देखते हैं, why wouldn't I just work on those 10 emails and see if it is working out, and then go to the team that hey, I tried this seems to be giving better results. Why not you now try it? So that sort of a thing.
CRM as a concept seems to be coming a bit later when your current customer base. Do you do anything specifically just for lead generation or qualifying the leads?
Just explain your question again. Are you talking about the tool or?
It's about CRM as a concept to implement. Seems like I would think that it comes a bit later in the stage where you have.
So that in fact I would say would be, if you were to ask me one mistake I made, that we in fact did CRM very late. But I would suggest if I were to start today, start CRM from day one, because there is always that friction around teams being able to get used to it and use it and so on. So the earlier you start, more you have the data and everything in place, rather than starting it late, because वो friction तो होने ही वाला है जब भी करोगे. But कम लोगों से start कर दोगे तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है, rather than everybody build more and more habits of not using it and then trying to make them learn that let's use it. And same goes for even processes, which we'll talk about.
So do you do anything specific for lead generation or that sort of, just to get the leads and CRM for that?
Bilkul. So again, we have our own website, inbound, we do a lot of outbound. As I said, we do everything, outbound, inbound, LinkedIn, email, we calling.
For is it done?
Yeah, go ahead.
For CRM, like at my stage, I see there are two kinds of CRMs that exist. One are the really good ones that you want to go for. But then you see the pricing point, it doesn't match up at the initial stage. But then there are other CRMs.
नहीं, बहुत सारे CRM free हैं at the initial.
So, like if money was a matter, but not that much, like you can still afford it, would you recommend somebody to stay on a good CRM that you eventually are going to go to, or stay on
Zoho, HubSpot? In fact, see, we are living in a SaaS world. I believe for most of the software now, cost is not a concern. At most places, I can't say again 100%. But at most things, you'll find that cost is not a concern, right? Because सबका plan आजकल वही $10, $20, $100.
So you would recommend to go to a
Yeah.
better ones which you are eventually.
Which yeah. So we personally use Zoho. So Zoho brings a lot of.
So as per my experience, there are two sets of customers here. One is like who are kind of startups or the small players, and the other segment is the mid to large scale. So for mid to large scale, what we have found is like they really want you to hang out with them, have a presence on ground, and close the deal, which takes a huge amount of time.
Right.
And that happens only through the reference. That the only benefit is like those are the long-term customers which stays with you.
आजकल वो भी long term नहीं है वैसे पर हाँ.
Probably yes. In short term, what challenges we are facing is like through the sales and that we are able to convert it. But most of those projects are very short for the short period. So you continuously keep hunting those projects.
Right. So that's what as a founder you have to find out, like how you create dependencies, how you create long term. I mean, there's no one answer that I would say, okay, start doing this. But that's exactly what you have to do for your own business. That's the role you have, like figuring out. So yeah, that would be my answer.
When I found for yourselves, you give them some discount and ask them for referrals.
Yeah, that again, these are part of all experiments. Like how would you close? So this would be one of the experiments. It could again depend on. So let's say if you have too many people on bench, you could think of an experiment. Hey, why not I send email to all these people telling that I have this person, I'll give you 1 month for free, and he could do this problem for you, and so on. But again, it depends. I won't say that this experiment would work for all. It all depends. Like what is that person and what is the customer? Would that create value? Would that happen? Maybe send to 10 people. How many respond? So these are all experiments.
So my question probably would be through this sales process, are you able to get into that upper segment without any reference or actually landing into the?
No, I think references are super important. So I would say again, you guys are jumping on the further slides, but to just conclude on this aspect, I'd say that 80% business still comes from references. While I think 80% effort goes into that new revenue, I think 80% revenue only comes from.
Even in second orbit, it is all.
Yeah, more and more. The higher you want to, like you said, like the larger customers, the larger deals. If you are not going to a reference, or there's some moot again. So either it's through technology, which is hard nowadays because everybody can do everything. I imagine. It's all about connections. Connections as in like, do people really trust you? It could be because of a reference. It could be some sort of things you've done. It could be trust is important.
So are you flying all the time?
Flying, not all the time, but yes. Going in front of customers. So, in fact, that's already written as revenue and references from existing. So, one of the things that again we did not do very early, but I would like to share, that convert all departments to sales focus. So, one of the things that happens is that, especially at the early stage, everybody is doing their own roles, and sales is just meant to be done by the salesperson or the CEO, for example. That okay, you are doing. So one of the things that if I were to look back is the earlier you are able to bring everybody's focus on sales, the better it is. So by meaning that focusing on sales is that even the decisions that are being done by, let's say, your delivery person, your CTO, should be meant more about how can I get more revenue, rather than कि मैं तो बस काम अपना कोडिंग करने के लिए मेरे को बस ये चेक करना है वगैरह करना है. So bringing that focus on sales for everybody is important because sales is so important. Sales, as everybody answered, is the thing. If that happens, everything else takes care.
Just to extend on to that, he mentioned that I am here to learn to delegate.
Yeah.
Right. So CEO has to delegate. Should he delegate operations or sales?
So I would say personally, I think again you have to play on your strengths, but also you have to figure out what is the constraint. So अब आपका काम constraint solve करना है. अगर आपको ये लग रहा है कि sales is my biggest constraint, तो CEO को कूदना ही पड़ेगा. और आपको लग रहा है operations constraint है, sales तो मेरे पास बाकी बंदे जो कर ही लेते हैं अच्छा, तो operations मतलब because you have to be more like a floater, I would rather say, in terms of solving the constraint. Your main responsibility is finding the constraint and solving. avoid any leads slipping through gaps. So one of the things we have tried to do is make sure that anybody who we connect with at one point of time, we have multiple point of contacts with them. So we have our newsletter going out, we are connected with them on social, we make sure that we have reminders set up for them. I'm not saying we are 100% perfect because we are still improving, but that's one thing that, again, you don't have a CRM, you don't have a process, then many times, over the period of time, you find, अरे ये बंदा बात तो हुई थी पर अब याद नहीं आ रहा कौन था या क्या हुआ, and sometimes you would look back and see, अरे ये बंदा ही बड़ा हो गया, मतलब it's like that the one guy forward actually became a really solid company, and you probably lost touch. So one of the sense of sales would be that not losing connect and connections once it is made. So make sure on that. And then, of course, meeting with your customers, you are the main sales guy for your company. So, like you asked personally again that eventually whatever you say, you are the best person to represent your company. So, you have to be good. And again, one of the things that I've heard many times is that, let's say, people coming from technology background started a company and now they do not understand sales, and the first thing they would try to do is hiring a salesperson, for example. I would suggest, unless they're coming in as a partner or equal stakes or something equal for them, I don't think it would really work. So that does not work. So you have to learn sales. And there are ways, like it's not impossible. So one of the other things that I wanted to mention, talking about sales, and something you could do as a maths could also be like calculating back. So let's say if your revenue that you want to achieve is 1 million, what is the average revenue per customer that you can get, which means how many customers you need. So if let's say you get 100k customers, then you need 10 customers. If you get 50k customers, you need 20 customers. And let's say if you imagine that 20 meetings lead you to 1 customer, then this is the kind of meetings you need. And if you feel that for each meeting you need to send out 20 emails, then you need to send out 4,000 emails or 4,000 customers. And if you have 4 months, then you need to do this month. And then if you have 5%, then each person has to do 200. And if you have 20 days in a month, then each person has to do 10. So something, again, I won't say that this is right or wrong. You have to do your own maths, but calculating back could also be a useful exercise to do, going back with your teams, that what exactly we are sitting on, so that you know realistic targets and plans for your team. That this is the return. When you basically, so one thing we also saw is that to be able to reach sales, you have to make sure that then it works this way, like the other way, like we started this way, but then it has to work this way. That is your sales team doing enough activity? Theoretically, everybody would say, yeah, this is easy, but I want you to look into data. Sometimes I found that's the biggest culprit. Enough activity is not happening, which could lead you to enough sales. So that reverse, and something you only have to do. So again, finding constraints. So yeah, this is where I think we end up the sales lesson for today. Anybody needs a break? Sleepy? All good? Give a chair. Okay, but I thought maybe I thought that probably you guys would feel sleepy. So I put a game here. Can you read the colors right? Read out loud. Yeah, इसके साथ पढ़ रहे हैं. ये तो ग्रीन है. अभी वापस उल्टा करते हैं, पढ़ते हैं. इतने लोगों को समझ नहीं आ रहा कौन सही दे रहा है. I hope you know how many right answers you got. ठीक है. So moving to the next this thing. You guys have time, right? We are already on 12:30.
Having blurred vision helps with that.
Sorry?
Having blurred vision helps with the previous slide.
Right. color blindness where best scores are. Okay, cool. So second thing is delivery. Now, delivery first thing comes to mind is delivery. But this is important because, I would like to appreciate this picture. So it's not IT, but what is important to see here is that how much in today's world the experience of delivery is important. Like one is the product itself, but how you deliver becomes very important. And again, something that early stage companies need to fix early on is the way they deliver. So you don't need to become large enough to give a good experience. You have to have a good delivery experience for your customers, right from as a smaller company itself. So as you would see, like Domino's has just created a complete advantage just on delivery, for example. In fact, today Blinkit and other companies, they don't have a product; they're just delivery. So delivery is so important. So for our IT services, how you can bring predictability, how you can increase revenue per customer, how you can avoid, let's say, small customers wasting large amount of time. I'm not saying denying small customers, but keeping it in a way that your deliveries are predictable, good experience, and even for the small customers who you feel, okay, why should I put in time, but you are still working with them, they still get a good delivery. Like when you are not involved, still there's good delivery. Standardization, processes. So that's another important thing that you need to fix, and that could be something again you need to discuss and figure out constraints what's stopping you. But our learnings has been that process always wins in the long run. So again, using some tools, maybe a Jira or Basecamp or Monday.com or whatever, and having your team really using it. By really using it, that's the problem. Like many times tools are there, but not all the people are using it, which means that some updates are on the tool, some updates are on email, and some updates were just talked about in the call, but nobody has any records. We have gone through that, like personally, and that is what looking back, I figured that processes, setting processes, and making sure that everybody uses them is super important, because when that happens, that saves a lot of time for you to be able to focus on sales or other things. Otherwise, other time your time is into firefighting. Who said what? Now I will come in the call and help everybody decide. How many of you have such incidents? So उससे बचना है, because that's not the right use of your time, and that does not brings any. Like if the customer has already reached that point where there's a firefighting, you are already losing that customer. So proactive approach of project management and making sure. So what we did to solve that is like all KPIs, all measurements, including even hours logging to minutes meeting, everything is on one. So it took time, but all KPIs, everything is at one.
You build that.
We built now. So we built on top of Jira and other tools, bringing everything at one place. But it took time. I'll not say that you have to do it today. At least start using whatever tool you are using, Jira or Slack or combination of Jira and Slack. And then again, as a leader, your work would be making it frictionless. So nowadays there's a lot of integration that exists, for example, or there is like how to make sure that your team is really using it. So that becomes important. For smaller companies, there would be just one project manager who would do the calls, and then project manager would come back and explain to the team. I believe that's not right, because one, the developers or testers, they are getting the second-hand knowledge. Second, they are not able to take the responsibility because they were not there saying yes, to the customer. Rather, the sprint manager said yes. So it was his commitment rather than that person's commitment. So we make sure that on all the calls that are with customer, the whole team, whosoever work it is, has to be there themselves. So that's something that has helped, because then people take their own commitments and people have to make their own laws. That this is what I said, so this is what I am doing, and so on. Yeah. So process checklist was something I was saying. So when we did not use more automation, we use Jira right from very start. But before automation, we at least had these lists created, like from onboarding the customer to execution to having the QA and so on. And I would say these have to be built with the people. So rather than you building something and sharing it that now we use this has to be built in a way that people who would be following it are part of building it. So you have to have a session. This is how we did it. That okay, these are the 5 things we are thinking. What do you think? Can we follow this? What do you think? Can we remove this? Do you want to add anything? So everybody takes the ownership. So that's how processes work. Otherwise, it won't work basically. If you take a screenshot of this and just give it to the team, it won't work because that's not their process or they have not said yes to it. It's all about they committing to the process. But you keep doing it, and I think just to share the reality, it took us at least 3 to 4 appraisal cycles or 3 to 4 years to be able to get everybody, really very much clear that that's the only way. Because first time we put in some targets like this is what we'll do, people did not do it. Then we said, okay, you do it, we'll add some reward, but then half did not. And processes are like, it's like the chain, like the weakest link is the strength of the whole chain. So if the QA does not do it, everybody else does it, it's still broken. Or the developer does not do it, QA can't follow it. So everybody has to be
just curious here, right? So you need not answer it, right? So what's the compliance right now? Would you say?
So we are compliant with ISO standards.
This process, like you said that it took 3 years to get this the process
Yeah.
on the ground. What's the level of compliance you see? Is it 100% now? Or
Yeah. I'd say 99%. We don't look at anything now as emails or anything. We look at the dashboard, we look at the tools and everything. कि वहाँ क्या लिखा है, user stories हैं या नहीं. And same thing we apply to the customers also. We can't work on your project unless you create proper test cases, create proper user stories, and then we give you the delivery. It's like, I would give you an analogy of a restaurant. If I have opened a restaurant where anybody can come in and order anything, how would I deliver? Because let's say someone came, give me dosa, give me this. So I have to tell them that these are the things I do. This is how I do it. It will take say 20 minutes. Now
what
I can
was the
serve it.
pushback from the customer for this? Like,
so cost is definitely there for many customers because it really increases, let's say, the work by 20%. But you educate the customer that this 20% could save you 200% in the longer run because you lower the technology debt, you have everything created, there is dependency. So you educate.
yeah, because
But you have to say no to customers again, as I said, fly by night customers that would say nahi mujhe to bas karke de do aur so that's why you have to decide.
one of the questions that I had was like when you talked about processes, right? Some customers come with their own process. They are married to the process. So it becomes sometimes
then you follow their process. That's fine. So we just would say that okay, show us your process, and if you are taking the responsibility that if guys follow this and anything out of this thing comes, you won't be questioned, then we are okay. But the idea is that everybody is habituated in a company, made habituated to follow a process. So it could be customer process or it could be, there should be no random event is where you want to get.
exactly the answer.
Yeah. So the third thing is of course culture. To be able to get talent. Again, we talked about talent. So right from attracting people to retaining people to finding good people and making good people give good work to you. That is also important because again, from my experiences, I found like very good people. Maybe they may not suit what you want to get done or what you expect from them, and maybe same people who are not doing very good in your company switched somewhere else and now they are doing very good. Which means that it's all about finding the right match. It's about that your culture should be able to attract the right people, and you have to be very clear and again prudent towards it. So culture eats not only strategy as I say, but everything else as well. So whatever strategies you would make, unless you have the right people and the right culture, you won't get anywhere. Like even the things that you talked about, like sales or processes earlier, if you are not setting the right culture, it won't work. So first thing first, for early stage, like understanding who is the right hire. This is one of the, I would say, most made mistake, and I made it myself, and I would say this is at least a 5-10 crore mistake. Like that is the amount of money I spent with wrong hires to be able to understand. Is who is the right hire for you? So to give you some notes from my experiences would be like if you are at the early stage, people coming from a larger organization won't really work for you. That has been my experience. So yeah.
Is it required of, I mean, because the people make the company, right? In our stage, it could be make or break thing, right?
So under 1 million, we did the whole high HR thing. Right? We just had one person who used to help us do the, like setting up the appointment, setting up the interview, etc., or posting the job,
Did you
etc.
hire
But
HR?
we did very much everything.
Did you hire HR?
Nick, that's what I'm saying. We had a junior HR, at least first million. So because even there's not so much hiring you are doing if you are, like you're not hiring like 10, 15 positions every month. So I think, but even if you have a team, I'm not, again, see, everything depends. Eventually all the lessons I give are my own experiences, and there are a lot of things that mix and match together. So I think you have to take your own call, but all I would say is that at early stage you have to get involved yourself, because the first 20 or first 50 people are very, very important as a company. So who is getting in? You have to verify yourself. And what I would like to share here is that as a founder, you have a more holistic picture of what you really want as a business, as a company, and so on, which may or may not reflect in a JD, in, let's say, a very, I would say, assembly line kind of process. Sometimes you have to take a gut call, basically. Sometimes, or most times, rather, I would say. So, and those are decisions you have to take. So, you have to get involved.
Yeah. To attention to this question, and then what you just said. What was your involvement 0 to 1, and what kind of involvement for each of the hires? Like, I'm not saying only.
So I would say every hire during the start, every hire is either me or my co-founder, or like would be there, like tech, because I'm a CTO co-founder. So he would make sure that every tech hire has a final interview and final decision by him, and he still continues to do that. I made sure that I am basically making sure of every hire on sales, marketing, and HR teams, and every other function basically. Now I am not doing as much, because luckily we have been able to find people who is now a second level leadership. So I'm not doing that. But my CTO still does everything, like final round of everything. So who is the right hire coming back? So what I would like to share, the more important lesson would be, especially for leadership hire or the more important hires as a early stage company, you have to make sure that don't fall into the trap of a big shot guy at Infosys, sales guy, for example, because methods that they are used to won't work for you, because they have won the Infosys brand or larger company. It has already solved those orbits, which means there are collaterals available, there are contact lists available, there are PPTs available. All they have to go in and say that, okay, we are here. And I've done that. That's why I said, so many costly mistakes. But I hope that you guys can learn and make the right decision. Something that may work could be that Infosys guy, but maybe did a startup in the past, or maybe had something that they know that 0 to 1. Because unless they have been into the 0 to 1, they won't be able to solve it. That is.
But sometimes you hire like people who are very junior, and they are always in learning, right? Then you can't provide excellence, right?
Yeah.
So excellence in service is very important.
Yeah. So of course, again, it's a mix. Again, some experiments would fail, some experiments would pass. Sometimes you'll find a fresh guy who would be so good that you would be like, wow, this is a jackpot. I have it. Or sometimes you will find the most senior guy who, after you have hired, gave all the money, invested so much time, after 1 week you figure he even does not write email. That has also happened. All their experience was only in the age.
So how soon do you fire such people?
Good question. So I've been trying to become better at it, I would say. But the lesson I would share is the early you do, the better. Sometimes you go into the overthinking mode कि क्या करें, कैसे उससे बात करें, क्या उसको बताएं, वगैरह वगैरह. But I have found that most of these people know by themselves also. Like personally I found that when you go into that discussion and you are like, देखो यार मजा नहीं आ रहा, आप नहीं कर पाए, they would be pretty much accepting it, because they would know. At least उतना experience होगा कि value नहीं create हो रही है. So, but sometimes you have to give time again. It all depends eventually. So you have to take. Those are decisions you have to make. That do you want to give more time? Do you want to pull the cord? But early the better. But so the other thing that you have to do around talent, and this is in fact more important. So one is finding the right hire, but secondly, of course, the people who have chosen to work with you, or who you also know are now tested with you, you're working with them, how do you move them from my company to our company? That is a rather more important aspect that you should be focused on, because like again, you want to reach to 1 million, you want to do this, you want to achieve all of these aspects, but how do you make sure that that could become a goal of a larger number of people in your team? So how do you move that mentality from it's just my company, but rather than that, it's our company, it's our goal, let's do it, what's in it for them? So having more clarity, providing more clarity around that, and having more communications around that is more important. So that, and I have some things I'll share that we have done in the past for our teams. And then, of course, creating leadership. So, like, of course, it is important that as you grow, especially since you cross the first orbit, you are getting ready for the second orbit. So, creating leadership. So, like I said, sales, marketing, even process, etc. So, luckily and thankfully, we have been now able to create a second set of leadership, and that's what has helped us to, get to further orbits, and also to free our time to do other things. So it happens over time, of course, but I'll share like what we did. But as a founder, as a leader, you have to start thinking about building leadership, recognizing people. So let's say there would be always, let's say that top 10% people in your company. So if you are a company of say 100 people, there would be top 10 people. If you are a company of 20 people, there would be at least 2 people who you feel like this person is really, very much in resonance with what I think, what I do. He's able to, like, can I give him more opportunity? So don't get late in addressing them, in the sense कि यार चलो अपन साथ में आगे बढ़ते हैं. Give them that opportunity or give them that direction right away. Sometimes we have it in our head, but we just got delayed because we thought चलो कल कर लेंगे, बाकी काम पहले कर लेते हैं, sales पहले कर लेते हैं, नए लोग पहले ढूंढ लेते हैं. So that becomes being able to attract good people again. So just like like VC says ke VC one of the main work for VCs is of course putting money, but second is how can I find good companies that approach me. So similarly for talent, like apart from like how can you brand yourself as a good employer, what is the word going around about your company, what is the brand experience you're creating. So again, small things, but being able to attract good people is super important. So what we did at MindBrowser, so one thing, yes, we started the employee stock options plan, and that really helped in being able to retain people that we wanted to, and we have made this policy, and creating benefits for everybody. So moving from my goal to our goal. So I would suggest, again, looking back, I think we got delayed. It should be done early in the journey. So creating ESOP plans, giving a direction. Even if you do not want to give ESOPs, maybe get a good bonus policy. For example, if our company reaches this, we do this, and so on. So that could be one thing you can do to retain good talent. Because rehiring same kind of person is next to impossible. Someone who spent, let's say, very good years, they got trained, they were in resonance with you, and for all the good people, like there's no lack of jobs, right? So you also know that if they are good, they will find job very quickly. So it's all about proactive approach than reactive approach for talent. So ESOPs is one thing. So I remember, like we started these discussions, not ESOPs, but really building this leadership around 2018-19. And rather than making it too complicated, what we did is we recognized 5 or 6 people and said, "Hey, yaar, let's go out from office, कहीं पर बैठते हैं, थोड़ा मतलब pop type में चलते हैं, so that we have ideas flowing, and start discussing that where you want to get, where we want to get, what do you think?" And that really empowered people's and ideas, and then one thing led to another, and so something you can plan. And few people are today here as well out of those initial groups. So that's how. But one thing is, don't overcomplicate it. Even if ESOPs are a bit far away, at least start having those discussions. Give you the take-up. Now, many people may not be eligible or may not be very much in line with your ESOP plans. So what we did is we still created other benefits as well, other level benefits. We call it the M2 Mindbowser mileages program. Then we created a plan around like how do we unlock different benefits for like every year of work or every let's say 3-year, 5-year milestone journey and so on. So we got good results out of it as well. Also helped us with our employee branding, etc. So it worked. Again, you can pick similar programs or something depending on your company. And then talking about your goals openly. So what we did is so this is our goal 20 by 25. So it's like 20 million by 2025. And rather than putting it as a presentation within 5 people or 10 people, we basically did a town hall and told everybody in the team, even the the junior most person knows that this is what as a company we want to do. Because then whatever actions you are doing, you can connect back that this is what why I'm doing. And then you don't need to update everybody on a daily basis, but let's say having some sort of regular updates going, and it is okay to fail. So it's not that you would always succeed, but just because everybody like people understand, so you don't have to again overcomplicate कि अरे मैंने ये बोल दिया लेकिन मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा फिर लोग क्या सोचेंगे. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि there's nothing like that. Even if you fail, you are all in it together. So again, making it our goal. So everybody is in it together. If we fail, we discuss why we failed, what we can do better. Everybody knows what they're doing and why they're doing. So these things can help building the culture and solves a lot of problems, because if you are able to have people that feel from day to day, then you of course have more time to create those 10x things. Any questions still here?
Remote work versus office work.
We have been like doing blended as of now. Again, personally, I'm more fan of our office, but I think if we have good people and they're comfortable doing remote, but they are able to produce what we want from them.
Can you build culture in remote work? Because I have my teams of colleagues.
Try your best. Again, these are constants. So अभी कुछ constants जब आपकी कार ट्रैफिक में है, तो अब आप कुछ कर तो नहीं सकते, but आप अच्छा म्यूजिक चला सकते हो, मतलब या फिर आप पानी पी सकते हो, मतलब it's all about constants. कि आप उस constant को आप remove नहीं कर सकते, तो ये सोचो कि आप उसमें से आप best क्या निकाल सकते हो. So yeah, so now coming to the usual suspect 4. Can anybody remind what are 3 we already discussed? This is the 4 things.
Hiring, speaking, free talent.
Okay. All with me? So each of that the pace is okay?
Yes.
Okay. So on the left you would see primarily like things that you may end up doing, like managing delivery, having customer complaints, working on non-strategic customer, doing linear work at times, doing everything by themselves, compared to moving to these aspects of work. So creating a GQ. GQ is like your social quotient, like how much you are visible to others. When customers meet you and let's say after they have met you, they Google you, like are you a credible person? Who are you? What are you doing? Are you very knowledgeable? Can they lie with their work with you? What is the presence you have created? Taking courses. So one of the things is that can you be the biggest learner on behalf of your team? Like we would always push on courses for your team, but how much are you learning yourself the new things? Like maybe reading as many books or going for as many courses or enrolling to as many places. So taking courses, finding mentors. Mentors something only you would be able to do. Like who would be the right mentor, approaching them, getting mentorship from them, what would be the arrangement with them. So doing these things, building leadership, company culture, building partnerships. Partnerships is something only you can drive. Like who would be the right partner? What would be that give and take that you can create in that partnership, commercials or stakes or whatever. So those are the decisions that nobody else can take. So these are the things you would have to do. Finding bottlenecks, constraints like we discussed, doing 10x type of work. So when I say doing linear work to doing 10x, what you would like to do ideally would be like things that create a 10x effect. So even if you are writing an email for a problem to your customer, can you think about making a video out of it, plus a blog out of it, plus a LinkedIn converting it into a 10x rather than just doing it, okay, ये person is कोई मिल जाते हैं, because then you are sucked into 1x. Then your progress is asking questions. Asking questions is very important. I mean, anybody knows what is meant by asking questions? Yes. Any guesses? What comes to mind when I say asking questions is one of them. Right. Yeah. Pretty much. So anything that is happening on a day-to-day basis, or anything that your company wants to do, needs to do, people want to do. So asking questions that could be many times common sense, that hey, we are doing this, but is that the best way? Can we do this way? And so on. So asking questions is one of infectors, because nobody else can ever say ask, because they are busy in their own work. Your work is probably to create new plans. So asking questions becomes first. And this applies even if you are like I don't mean it just for founders, but anybody who wants to grow in their career. These are things. These are the ways you should do. So what we did at Powerhouse, like I was mentioning, so we went for courses. So this is my co-founder who did a technology leadership program from MIT. I did a executive MBA from Berkeley. I wrote a book called The Zero Hiccup Way, which I tend to now share with my customers, that you can read more about me there. So taking efforts to create those 10x collaterals rather than just a presentation is how one should be planning. Enabling next level leadership, Berkeley and my network, and rolled in numerous courses. I'm like always learning, so always looking at, okay, what do I do not know? Because I do not know, probably my team may not know as well. So can I first go ahead and learn? Taking out of the box decisions for customers. Now this one is also very useful. Interestingly, again, people work through a certain way, and your value as a founder would come in on finding or breaking the patterns. So, there's a certain way to deliver. Many times, let's say you said that no free work, which is a fair point, no free work for any customer, which should be done as well. This is up. But then you are the only person who can decide or convince the team and do it in a way that your team is also understanding why you're doing so. Let's do free work for this customer, for example. So in the past, we ended up, even bartering different services that we would not otherwise do for our customers, where we saw that there's strategy with this customer. So taking out of the box decisions for customers is your work. A customer is looking at you as a founder also. Like if let's say that person is a founder or an enterprise head, and they are also looking at, okay, one is my normal work which the team does, but if I'm meeting Ayush, what is the out of box things or some things that the team is not giving, can Ayush give it? And Ayush's work is to figure out whether this is worth doing or not, whether we should go that extra mile, and so on. So being ready for such partnerships which may not feel like very profitable on day one, but you may have that vision which maybe in your team nobody would have, that no, this will help me after 1 year, because that's where the market is going, or that's where the company is going. So figuring out the right partners or convincing people to work with you, maybe even something as simple as you met person who you want to hire, and maybe going out of the way to lure them to join you. But then that's those are the calls you have to do. So those are the things you should be doing. Going for mentorship programs, etc. Personal profiling, going to events, podcasts. So these are things we did a lot. We have been doing as well. And I started my podcast, etc. So over the period of time, we are now a known podcast in health tech, because we wanted to build a brand in health tech. So we've done a lot of podcasts, and now, including me, our other team members, are also doing podcasts. So again, you lead by example. So if you do it, then your team members also do it. So then you are able to delegate, or then you are able to create a path that others can follow. But just like आजकल बच्चों को बोलते हैं ना कि you can't be sitting on sofa and telling children कि चलो exercise करके आओ, मैं टीवी देखता हूँ. So वैसे you can't tell others if you are not following. So anything till here? Any questions? So then I also created some note. So say no to some of the things we learned. ये चीजें नहीं चली थी. So try to do everything. So again, finding that right balance between where to put your energy, where to put your company's energy. Sometimes, like even a small decision as the like I'll give you an example. Just a few days back, there was a lead that came from Government of India. Now, my marketing folks said, "Oh, we have now got the interest coming from Government of India, and they have this large RFP. Let's participate and so on." And I'm like, वो नहीं होगा मुझे पता है. These government people will make you fill the RFP, take all information, you spend 5 days, 10 days. So either you kind of, like validate or you do. So, like again, something that you have to do diligently, where to say no, what things may not work and so on. Saying yes to bad customers, we already discussed. Like bad customer is one of the things that I believe early stage you have to be very cautious about. Like customers who, like right from wanting to build LinkedIn for $10,000 to, wanting to build LinkedIn in 3 months to, any sort of request that actually do not make sense. So you have to see through that and close, like, get out of that wall and that discussion as early as possible. So another thing is, like we discussed and focused a lot on experiments. So experiments fail. Like be honest, 90% experiment would fail. So don't have like high hopes in the sense that okay, now we'll do experiment and succeed. But you'll get to the successful experiment only through the failed experiment. So it's like you have to keep doing it. It's like 10% would be successful, but you do not know which 10%. So you have to do 100%. So you have to keep trying, and so don't get discouraged. And like I said earlier, that don't create a notion within teams or anybody as well that you said that अरे ये नया आया है. So in the team culture also, like address it in a way that let's try this, and it's okay. But even I don't know, it will fail also. But you know what? If it succeeds, we get to, let's say we were getting 1 reply out of 100, and my new email gives me 1 reply out of 10. We are doing 10x. So why not we try? It does not work. Let's try something else. So address it in a more empathetic way always whenever you are doing. And let other people also fail, of course. So being happy in status quo, so don't be happy, keep asking. Yeah, one of the things is afraid to call the kettle black. So that is something I learned over time, and to give you an example that, many times we have our own personalities. Like not every founder would be, say, someone who is very comfortable saying no, or maybe extrovert in the sense that yahi karna hai, or whatever, taking decisions. But I think not in the negative sense, just want to make sure, but more about being very, very clear in your conversations, being able to say that, okay, I don't understand it, what you are saying, or being able to say that, okay, if you are interviewing someone, being able to ask, okay, you have written this company, what you really did here. If they say we did this, okay, show me, can you show me or not? Asking those hard questions is very important for you because nobody else would. So asking hard questions, not being shy, afraid to call the kettle black. ये नहीं हो रहा है, ये करके मतलब हमें करना ही है. So those kind of, you have to take this. Deciding on success or failure of an experiment too fast, like you're doing experiments, sometimes it will take time. So being clear about it. And yeah, finance is another thing that many times. So I would strongly suggest stay away from debts, stay away from taking too much money that there's less money left. Because one of the things that we did as founders is being very prudent to make sure that we have enough money always. That even if our customers go away, we have enough money basically. So putting it like that. So always keep that because that helps you sleep better at night, wake you better at night, be able to work. Because money is something, if you have tension about that, then your other things would deteriorate or you won't be able to bring your best. So avoid any kind of tension around money and don't get carried away by, I personally feel by, let's say, ODs or loans or short-term debts or things like that. So keep your books clean. With CAs, like we make sure that we are not having any discussions which make no sense. Basically, like profit here, but then tension for later kind of thing. So something, okay, ये ऐसे कर लेते हैं, but then 2 साल बाद फिर उसका response कर रहे हैं income tax को. So So those things would rather take more time. So keep your books clean, keep your habits clean. That is important. And then if you're doing that, then it again goes through the whole company culture as well. So everybody stays honest. So by learning all of this, again, where is the opportunity? So now I've told you that those are so many things you have to do and so on. But I also want to share that I think it is really great time to be that 0 to 1 million company. Why? Because the market is really right. One, your strength would be one. You can drive innovation than anybody else. Just like the physics of momentum, like you can move faster than the companies larger than you. So play on innovation, be someone who can innovate faster or create very faster or and so on. Because in fact, I've seen myself, the larger we have grown, the more time it takes for us to get to a decision or to do something. And we have been trying to solve that, of course. But I think when I look back earlier, it's like when I was only doing myself, how fast I could go. So similarly, don't let that go. This is your strength basically, the speed at which you can drive innovation. Going super niche, so something we discussed, like like something for a larger company, it becomes very challenging that hey, can we focus on this? But if you have, I would say, 1 or 2 customers on a particular niche area, can be replicated? Can you focus your folks on it? So that to find that speed, like I mentioned, speed of innovation or innovation altogether. Like for a company that is smaller, it is, I would say, easier to start quickly changing a website and say, okay, we are AI company. For example, I'm not saying that you should be doing, but let's say if you feel that that's the way you want to drive, you can do those changes right away and become an AI player as compared to companies that are larger than you. So those are your opportunities. And then founders' attention. In fact, personally, ourselves, we tend to work with a lot of partners, that are smaller companies, and same goes for even companies larger than us, because we get the founders' attention. So your play in the game is actually your strength, and especially for your early customers and early partnerships, that's how you should be thinking that, because people are coming to you for that, because people can find other people anywhere. What they're coming to you is that, are you putting yourself here, or are you giving me a personalized attention? So any question, anything here?
So going super niche, how super niche you should?
Depends. See, again,
Like
that would be,
you are into health tech.
yeah.
So are you going super niche into health tech as well?
We are trying. So again, it takes a journey, I would say. So while we are more spread, so from doing everything, we are doing health, and within health also, we are taking up some areas. But again, having that focus area does not just come by creating a web page out of it. You have to bring in like real expertise. So people who understand that domain, we do not, or we trying to understand that, or so basically, like if you are to give a solution to the customer, you should be knowing more than the customer. So that way, we are still learning. If you were to ask me, but yeah, we are trying to go further. Idea.
For the financial discipline that you mentioned from the earlier slide, what should be the ideal runway for a company to have a thing that even if new customer leaves,
I would say 6 months.
6 months.
So again, no right or wrong, but that's fine. Okay. If you have 6 months worth of burn rate in your bank account, I think you can have more freedom in mind to be able to do experiments, to be able to do things. It's like, see, business is always playing poker that way. So if you have the money, you can play more chances. But if your money is done, how would you experiment or how would you play if the money is gone? So have enough, this thing that you can go back, maybe play another chance and try, and so on. And also, one of the things, in fact, the finance that comes to mind is that the best, value that the ROI means, I would say, because we are all surrounded by a lot of financial experts and stuff talking about 300% to 500% to 20%, whatever. It is okay for personal, but I would say that the best return on investment comes either on learning courses, paying to a mentor, or investing to build POCs for customers. those give maybe 10,000% return. So that's where your money should be going ideally, rather than कि ये stock में कर दिया, ये mutual fund में कर दिया, ये कर दिया. मतलब again balance it out. I'm not saying not do it, but those should be your preference of investment purpose. मतलब ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि because the money is let's say I'm putting a money in something else, I'm not putting money on a course, or I can't pay let's say 5 lakh rupees to someone who I believe could advise me, but I don't want to pay it. I am against that. I believe अगर कोई मतलब if I can give 5 lakh and they give me ideas that can now grow my business to 50 lakh, do it. Yeah. So yeah. So who knows the Red Queen by the way? Red Queen, this story. Can anybody tell me? You don't know when I tell, but we recognize.
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, right. So Alice in Wonderland. So it is around the nature of business. So Alice basically when she goes to Wonderland, so she's running and running, and she's not reaching anywhere. She's at the same spot while running. So she asked the queen that, hey, why I'm not going anywhere? I'm running, as much as possible. So the queen says so that's how it would be, isn't it? So she says, okay, no, in our world, if we run, we move to the next, we move further. So the queen says, what a slow world that would be. In our world, if you have to get further, you have to run at 2x speed. So the connection I wanted to create is that's how business is. If you just keep doing the same thing, maybe you feel that you are doing your best, but you would be at the same place. So try to run at 2x. So that's something to share. I mean, I read it and it has stuck with me. So I want to keep it. So some bonus tips. Who are in for bonus? Bonus tips. Just one person. Okay, come to. Okay, so who all are in for bonus tips? Raise your hand. Okay, let's take you out. But bonus tips free नहीं आते. So and बाद में भूल भी जाते हैं. So one, add me here so that later you can of course be in touch and go ahead. I know many of you are already connected. So So coming to bonus tips is one, we flow on alliances. Another thing that I saw that especially early stage founders, I would say again nothing negative, but I met a lot of people having a very complex thought process around alliances, partnerships. Don't want to use the term ego, just take it in a good sense, but egoistic around sharing in the sense कि नहीं मैं नहीं बताऊंगा या मैं नहीं करूंगा वगैरह वगैरह. The higher you may get, the more you would find that it's all about sharing. It's all about alliances. In fact, some of the best companies you would know, like Apple and Samsung and Microsoft, all working together. In fact, Pepsi and Coca-Cola all working together because that's how you increase the market. So you would think that Pepsi and Cola are anti, but they would launch a new flavor on the same day. It cannot happen if they are already on the same pricing. So the idea is, you have to embrace making alliances, making partners, and try to give. It is one of the reasons, in fact, this session and other things that I do as well. That give, and give, because that's what I learned. If you give more, you get more. So that increases the pie for everybody. So just to give an example, Ruby team that we are partnered with, just in outsourcing, we have paid them like $1 million and more in revenue. So, but that guy showed up, and became really a genuine partner. Of course, it did not happen in the first year. This has of course increased, but in the last 5 years, this guy also made sure that he really went out of the box for a partnership, working together with us. So we were also able to make him successful. In fact, I think we are his 90% business. He's a solo founder, not doing any business development pretty much. But that's how partnerships and alliances could help, and that's how our attitude should be around that. Give, so that treat each project as if it is still a deal to be won. So that's the other way, that any project that comes to your team or company, try to be very proactive, that you are, like on it. You're again drive the team. It's not like how many things you would do, but overall the team culture should be that every project is like it's still to be won. Because what happens is that when we're trying to win, we are like all into it. But then once it has come, it has become now a passive thing. Yeah, chalo ye to kar hi lenge, hum aage ka dekhte hain. But there's a lot of revenue that can be made from the things that you are already doing, opportunities you are already taking up. Short term should not impact long term. So again, mixed advice I would say, but that's the idea, that you have to keep the balance, that short term goals are important, but then should not deviate too much of you. I'll give you an example. Short term and long term, what I would mean is that, let's say an opportunity comes, that can you set up a back office team for me? Now it is not in your DNA, it is not something you want to do or you would do. So you have to take a call that this short term one day should not break your company's vision and mission and everything, and so on. And walk the extra mile for these initial customers, because that's where business is. Again, coming back to what I was mentioning, that
I have a question here.
Yeah.
That is, you said that somebody wants to set up a back office team, right? But you have a clear focus on getting into a particular vertical and becoming an expert on that or industry leader on that. Would you like to break away part of your team into
so that's why I added that hashtag. It depends. Eventually, none of this advice is like, it's like that you just can't follow and just do it. It's your own journey and your own priorities, your own life, because things are all, like connected. So, I gave an example of back office. Maybe you need to do it also. I'm not saying that now any opportunity that comes back office, you won't do it. I'm just giving an example that, let's say that's an outlier. So you have to think, but just make sure that you are taking decisions that everybody agrees or are in the strategy. And then we have walked the extra mile for these initial customers. So I'll share with you another one or two examples of how we help our initial customers. So one, what we did is, let's say we're working with a lot of startups. So one effort that we tried to do is trying to connect and build relationship with VCs. And then what we tried to do is connect the startups with the VCs. So because we knew that what is their need? Their need is to connect with VCs. Many of them were, let's say, solo founders. So try to think again, what are the things your customers need, and what can you do for that? So something as simple as, again, you could organize an event where you are calling in VCs, and you can tell your customers, hey, why don't you come, because I have got these 3 VCs to talk about. So you could be the organizer of that, for example. So that way, think like how you can solve your customers' problems, so that your customers do not look at you just as a developer. Basically, that's what you want to get out of. Like, as a company or as a person, it should not become कि हाँ ये बंदे भी हैं, पर फिर तो आप replaceable हो जाओगे कि अच्छा ये Java कर लेते हैं, दूसरा Java कर लेगा. You have to get dependency to these, what can be called as soft power. जैसे country का soft power होता है, ऐसा like soft power that you can give to your customer, that hey, you can bounce good ideas with me, hey, I share good tips with you, hey, I organize this event for you. So those sort of things you can always do. So another example that comes to mind is that one of the things we did was one of our customers started a team with us, US-based customer, and then they had from their VC that they need to build an internal team, and they were like that we need to build an internal team. Now we cannot have you guys work, or at least the main guys work with you. So we walked the extra mile discussing with them, in fact incepting this idea to them, hey, why not you take our guys only? And that was something which as a company we would not otherwise do, but taking that interest of mine that if I put 2 guys on his payroll, I can get maybe a visibility of 10 guys from my side. So rather than being very stringent, nahi, hum to kuch nahi kar sakte, we can't give our people to you, we said take 2 people of ours to your payroll, you manage them, and then in return, because I am helping you you coming to me, maybe the rest of the people would not lose the contract. So he said, yeah, that soon sounds like a good vision, because now I can show my VC that 2 people are in-house team and not my browser team. So that way I save the contract, and the customer also recognized or kind of like still cares for that aspect. So that's sort of thing. So you have to take decisions, and as I said, those are some of the decisions you only have to take because you could see that bigger picture. Because if you go by theory, as a company, you don't want to do that because these are your employees. You say, "अरे नहीं अभी मैं तो नहीं दे सकता अपने people इसको तो नहीं करना है." So another slide that I wanted to share as a startup, our strength is more about when the world says Zix, you do that. So a player is not getting selected because his girlfriend is ugly. So what do you make out of it? I mean, what would be your takeaway? And I'll come to what I was thinking, but what would be your takeaways from this?
Poor personal brand.
Yeah, personal branding is so important, so that gives you that answer.
People perceive that
Everybody is judging you.
Right? Everybody is judging you because your girlfriend is
And it could be on the most trivial things. Anything else?
Do good work.
Yeah, yeah. But apart from good work, take care of all of these things else also. Like you could be the best technology guys, but unless, let's say, you are good at everything else, you never know due to what thing you lost the deal. Yeah. Yeah, you were saying something?
Presentation matters.
Yeah, presentation matters. So every small thing matters basically. So you cannot leave anything to chance. And I would say the world is not fair. Let's accept it. That's how the world is. So world is not fair. You have to work with it. You have to do your 100%. You can't leave it.
Cannot keep personal things apart from the professional things, especially in the connected world. Like we saw some examples recently when there was this Israel versus Palestine thing happening. So being a founder, you cannot just express your opinion very openly on social media. That could cost you maybe.
Unless you know your target audience is either Palestine or Israel.
It could have cost a client altogether.
Right. So yeah, that's what. Like everything is connected basically. And then another thing that I could take from this one is that in the absence of data, decisions could go in as trivial as that. So it could apply to internal teams also. So because they don't have data, so this movie is all about like how they created a winning team. This guy, basically Brad Pitt, plays the role of a new thoughtfulness into selecting the team, which is based on data. But this is prior to that. So the idea is that let's say your team or you are not able to give data to your customer in the way they would want, then decisions would be taken on things as trivial as this. So data or like data points. So yeah. Good? Enjoyed it? Another thing, like breaking the patterns, this is just an example, it's not a takeaway as such, but another research, let's say, shows that job applicants who use Chrome and Firefox exhibit 15% longer tenure, 19% less absenteeism, and significantly higher productivity in customer satisfaction. So, and this is proven, so the idea is that there would be companies that would let the person work and see whether this person worked on Internet Explorer or Chrome or Safari. And people who would work on Internet Explorer, they would know that this person is going to be low performer in the long term. Why? Now the question would be, why do you think so?
Lack of effort is for the better thing.
Yeah.
There was a report.
Those are built-in browser.
Right. So, pretty much connecting your thoughts. So, the idea is that this showed that these are the people who are not even taking effort to change their browser. So, and I mean, again, 2-3 takeaways here that one, you should not be that way, like always be experimenting. Second, these are the kind of patterns that you have to figure, which would help you know whether your team is going in the right direction or not, whether some person you are counting on is the right person or not. Like it could work in the other way also, that sometimes there could be a very good person, but whose results are not coming. For example, it's a salesperson. You see they are putting in their hard effort, but the sales, the results is not coming. So the ultimate question that whether you let him go or you give another quarter or 6 months to him. So those decisions could come out of your ability to find such patterns. That whether they are doing other things in the right way, because it's all connected. If they're doing the other things probably they are doing not. So So what we did at Mindbrowser, similarly, is that again, to stand out, we always make sure that our business cards, are innovative. So these were some I was able to find in the past. This was, in fact, in the first year we created handmade cards, and these flaps had a information. So again, this is the best thing as a startup you can do. Like, you don't have money, but you have creation. So be creative. So some of the things. This is another card. I was not able to find our card, but I found the design. So what we did is a business card was like Google, and it said best web agency, and it said okay, mine was there. So finding or doing courage to do again out of the box experiments would help you. Do Zinc when others do that. We started something called Beer Pe Charcha. We posted about it. Then we got to know that beer वगैरह का ज़्यादा मत डालो, यहाँ तो पुलिस यही पूछना चाहती है. तो फिर हमने publicly डालना छोड़ दिया. But we started this concept called Beer Pe Charcha in our thing. And again, I'll tell you this story that how Beer Pe Charcha का thought कैसे आया. So हमने start तो चाय पे चर्चा करा था, but then we started thinking it breaking the monotony. We thought यार चाय पे चर्चा में लोग excite नहीं हो रहे. They are not really opening up, and we help give them that. This was during 2019. So चाय पे चर्चा election के time वो काफी famous भी हो गया था slogan. So we were like कि अरे चाय पे चर्चा करते हैं. But then we started conceptualizing, and we were like कि चाय के लिए तो कोई आएगा नहीं और मतलब लोग open up नहीं होंगे. So we thought, okay, can we do beer पे चर्चा? So we started doing what we call as BPC. We still do it. So every month we have a town hall is called BPC. And we don't take pictures. Similarly, same way we thought about where to take people for trips. We thought that again as a founder you have to find the balance. So of course you don't have infinite money. We also do not have. But we thought that what can be best, what we can do with it. We also do not want it to be boring in the sense that मतलब लोग भी सोचे कि क्या फालतू है बस ये सिंगड़ के लाल ले जाने हो गया. So we thought कि नहीं यार, let's figure out and maybe let's budget it out. So we figured that अच्छा सिंगड़ किला if we take or something similar, it still costs 2 lakh rupees. If we try and do Goa, it costs 3.5 lakh rupees. So 1.5 lakh तो उतना ज़्यादा नहीं है difference. Let's do Goa, and that started our annual trip to Goa. And I think last 7 years every year we have done a Goa trip together. So things like that. Again, keep thinking, keep breaking these monotonous. Yeah. Any questions? Now all of you don't go to Goa. Yeah. Think your own experience, or you can just use it. So yeah, this is pretty much the end of it. So this last few things, but yeah. Any next steps that you think you would like to do? Moving from here, what will you learn? What is your key takeaway from today? What is one thing that you want to?
Sales and outreach के systems हैं.
Systems तो तुम्हें बनाने हैं और follow भी तुम्हें करना है.
CRM.
So one thing you can always do is, you have that picture. This time paint the picture with your team. So it may not be all, but at least your leadership or your key hires, why not you paint the picture with them? So if coming here, if your goal was 1 million, make sure that your team's goal is 1 million. So have those conversations going back that the whole team really says that yes, we are working because we want to get 1 million or even higher goals. So do that and paint the picture to be an exercise you can do that. Second, figure out the constraints, what's stopping you. So there could be 10, but at least pick like which ones you can solve or which one would be a long term, short term, and so on. Let's start working on that. So ये इंडियन थिंकिंग एक्चुअली मैं इसको चेंज कर रहा था, बट जैसे बताओ कि इंडिया में ऐसा होता था कि हम भी पहले गए थे, तुम भी पहले जाओगे, हमने भी बहुत मुश्किल से सीखा, तुम्हें भी टाइम लगेगा, लेकिन मैं इसको चेंज करना चाहता हूँ. So what I would like to invite you is that I'm creating this 1 million founders Pune group, optional for you if you would like to keep discussing and, as you said, like-minded people connection. Then you can scan now, and maybe we can do some follow-up discussions or training around it. And probably you guys can contribute as well. So can scan. So this is the WhatsApp group we just started. even I don't know where it will go, but it would not go anything negative is all I can say. It would not harm the business. It can, but would it help you to become 10x or 20x or 5x? I think it would be our goal. So we are all in it together. So I think we can all contribute towards each other's journeys, ask questions. As I said, there are a lot of groups, a lot of ज्ञान around product companies. Services founders के लिए become destination fixture. So that was the idea. So my wish would be that hope I can do a 10 million orbit workshop for you soon. But I can only do after I do the 10 million. I have not yet done it. That's my goal. Till then, thank you. You can provide your feedback for the session on this QR code. This QR code is just to mention is from a startup that again as a startup founder I would like to support. They are a company called Telofy, which is into feedbacks and reviews, etc. So nothing commercial as such. I just wanted to support the founder. He told me, hey, can you put my QR code and help spread the word? I said, yes. So you can put your feedback about this mission. So that would be all, folks.
So after 2019, you had like almost exponential. It's okay for me. So you achieved like 4x growth, right, in 2-3 years, right? So what have been like top 3 parameters that have been driving this growth? Second question is, when growth comes, right? We always face a problem in service industry specifically, people problem, right? And obviously we are not ready to back up those people. So what is the typical bench strength at a given point of time that you maintain? Secondly, to augment the capacity, like how do we equip yourself with the number of people?
So starting with what were some of the things? Again, ये सारी चीजें हैं. देखो मैं अभी भी ये कहूँगा कि it's not one thing that really pushes. It's that whole holistic thing. It's like, you know, it's like a car. So एक टायर तेज करके फायदा नहीं है unless all 4 tires are basically running at that speed. So that's important. But if I were to still pick up, would be one, building the second level leadership, because then we could leave more possibilities in the sense कि हम लोग कुछ और चीजों पर ध्यान दे सकते हैं. Like my CTO now runs pretty much more around closures and software accelerators that we are building, because that's his attention area now, as compared to day-to-day delivery of a particular customer. So he's in fact pretty much not into it. So that way, I think you know that is one thing I would say. Second, I think getting good references from customers. So of course, over a period of time, customers also grew, and getting references led to most of the key customers that we work with have come through references. I always look back and try to see कि क्यों आए थे हमारे पास. मुझे दिखता है कि वो reference से ही आए. So references become important. I think some of the karma also came back, क्योंकि 2-3 ऐसे भी customers हैं जिनको हमने कभी तो free काम करके दे दिया था, लेकिन वो आ गए. So that's why I always believe कि manifestation karma is super important. So believe in that, and that always pays back.
And people problem.
हाँ, good people मतलब वही.
No, I mean like how do we equip yourself with the number of
अच्छा, वो ऊपर नीचे चलता रहता है. मतलब ऐसे कि वो सर्विसेज में तो कभी भी एक परफेक्ट बैलेंस नहीं हो पाता. कभी लोग ज्यादा होते हैं, कभी काम ज्यादा होता है. बट वही ढूंढना पड़ता है. तो वही कि ज्यादा लोग होते हैं तो हम एक्सेलरेटर ज्यादा बना लेते हैं या फ्री ज्यादा हो जाते हैं. मतलब यू नो, और फिर कभी कभी बिजी हो जाते हैं तो हम रेट बढ़ा देते हैं. कहते हैं कि अब हम ज्यादा रेट पर काम करते हैं.
Hi, my name is Saurabh Shani. I run a startup called as the Machine Learning Company. We are into custom data science and AI solutions. Right. So my question to you is, because you have you have seen the US market and you are very active in that market as well. Where do you see AI services opportunity in that market?
Subject है. It's all about how you land.
Super niche.
नहीं, जरूरत तो है, बट वही है कि सामने वाला करना. It's like again I keep going back because मैं अपनी टीम में भी ML बहुत यूज करता हूँ. We are as a service company, it's like a restaurant service. तो अभी आप ये पूछोगे कि भूख कितने लोगों को लग रही है, तो भूख तो पूरे इसको लग रही है, बट क्या वो आपके रेस्टोरेंट को चूज करेंगे या वो किसी और को, ये अब आपको ढूंढना है. मतलब what reasons would you make? so that people come to your restaurant, क्योंकि everybody is hungry every day. So इसी तरह से कि AI ML चाहिए सबको, लेकिन कौन से लोग आपको चूज करेंगे और वो क्यों चूज करेंगे, that's your work to find.
What if today you start AI services company? What will you do? Like, what will be your approach?
तो मतलब भाई कि I would think about के what is my expertise and who are the people who would want to play, मतलब play on your strengths basically. So again, somehow try to figure the first one to see. It is set के first customer ढूंढना ज़्यादा मुश्किल है rather than 10 customers के, और 10 ढूंढने ज़्यादा मुश्किल है rather than 100 के. So it's always about like how would you land your first key customer, or how would you land like 10 people, as customers and so on. So yeah, you have to figure. I would think again कि what are the trends वगैरह, वही research करूँगा. मतलब मैं अभी कुछ ऐसा दिमाग में नहीं, इसलिए तो मैं नहीं कर रहा.
Thank you.
We said there will be no AI today, but it has finally.